See, I told you, it'll be bullshit. How's it going, guys? David here once more. I apologize for the late review. Once again, I was kept at work. I don't know why they don't just schedule me the full shift instead of building my hopes up saying I was going to get out early and then having me stay because somebody was in a meeting. Anyways, that happened, but more money for me so that then I can give back to you. And you'll see why in the next couple of weeks as to why some of that money is being kind of spent for maybe some of you guys' entertainment. Trust me, some good things are going to follow. In the meantime, here's my review of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. You guys probably have checked out my first impressions video that came out right after I walked out of the theater, but here's my in-depth review after finally kind of analyzing the film after a full 24 hours. And it kind of brought me back to the original Jurassic Park, where that movie was all about not only the majesty of dinosaurs being brought back to the modern age, but also the consequences that can come by bringing back something that I think should have been fully extinct. And there's a reason for why they were extinct, and it plays up to a really good sparking debate about should we be playing God, cloning things, and the subtleties of the tension of how these things can undoubtedly not coexist with humans. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom says, fuck that, just blow it up! And that's essentially what we ended up here with the plot of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, in which the original island that not only Jurassic Park but also Jurassic World from 2015 was set in is actually literally blowing up. The dormant volcano is now finally active for reasons unknown because movie plot. And so Claire, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, enlists the help of Owen Grady, played by Chris Pratt, from the first movie, or at least the first movie from a few years back, of the new Jurassic World trilogy, and they set on this journey that feels an awful lot familiar of the one from The Lost World, where you have a group of activists trying to save these new form of endangered species in the form of dinosaurs from the extinction level event of the cataclysmic volcano. So right off the bat, you can kind of tell that this movie is going to have some sparkling parallels between Lost World and this one, where we have that group of activists trying to help these endangered species, but they were species that were already extinct. And so that kind of raised an early question that I thought was a little provocative. Like, should these animals have the same rights as some of the more endangered natural species that we are aware of here in the real world, like one of those albino gorillas or silverback gorillas, or some of those rare rhinos, like I think there was a white rhino at one point, and now they're almost practically off the map completely. And so there's a slight level of relatability there that I thought, okay, that's some real world stuff. I dig that. Then the movie completely forgets it as soon as we get to the island with Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and your archetypal villains that seem cool at first, but anybody who's ever seen not only a Jurassic Park movie, but pretty much any kind of action adventure / horror thriller type of movie can tell they're going to be the bad guys. Like, the movie at some point even drops the axis, like, yeah, we're not even going to pretend that these guys are cool, to say the least. No, they're going to be the bad guys. And it's weird because every time we've seen this happen before, and every time that a movie like this that doesn't need a legitimate villain, a legitimate antagonist, thrusts an antagonist upon us, it just constantly beats us over the head. We don't need villains. We don't need the government types. We don't need the money tycoons that are in it for the money, even though they're very self-referential with how much they want the money. These characters just don't work in this movie because you already have a really good thrilling antagonist, and that's the dinosaurs. Because much like with the first Jurassic Park, yes, you got certain dinosaurs that are very majestic and very beautiful to look at, like such as the Brontosaurus, but then you get reminded as to why these things should not be brought back, and you get the traditional set pieces within a Jurassic Park movie where people get eaten. Now, there's some actually rather cool, interesting kills in this one. In fact, there's certain scenes where it's almost like they're trying really hard to test the waters as to whether or not they should divulge into an R-rated Jurassic Park. There's certain scenes where I'm like, there should be way more blood than they're actually being shown here. However, even though these kills are somewhat cool to look at, especially when the right people get them, there's no build up to them. There's no subtlety whatsoever. In fact, subtlety is not almost found in Jurassic World, no matter how hard the director J.A. Bayona might try. J.A. Bayona took over directing duties after Trevorrow thought he was going to do Star Wars. And so J.A. Bayona took over, and I was actually rather anticipating that because he is known for doing mostly horror. The only drama movie that he really did was actually a disaster drama, The Impossible, with Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor, where they were in Indonesia tackling the tsunami that hit that island back in, 2011, I believe? I might be completely wrong about that date, but I think it was 2011. And outside of that, he mostly tackled horror with movies like, I think he did The Orphanage, El Orfanatorio, which is a Spanish horror movie. And so when he was announced for Jurassic World, I was like, okay, he can definitely have a good handle on horror. It's just that it then dawned on me, yeah, but he did it for smaller studios before. This is Universal. This is gonna be a cash-grabbing machine, and you see the struggle between him trying to do his usual horror methods when it comes to utilizing shadow silhouettes cast upon the wall, lighting effects. In fact, the opening sequence of this movie is actually a little eerie with the way that he frames the shots, the way he utilizes light and shadow to really make these dinosaurs even more menacing. And I absolutely actually was digging the opening sequence. And then it's almost like the studio says, blow it up. In fact, a good antithesis for how this movie just downplays the subtlety is the opening logo. Usually the past Jurassic Park movies always have like this subtle creepy logo that just kind of fades in and you hear like boom boom and it just kind of fades out, especially with when it was kicked off by Spielberg back in 1993. This one just has a super flashy, bombastic logo where it's like Jurassic World. It's just like, okay, well, I definitely know what I'm in for. And you see the struggle between the tones where it's trying to go for that horror in certain scenes that were actually rather effective and creepy, especially the one where you have the famous center point of this entire epitome of dinosaurs, the Indoraptor, which is the big answer to the Indominus Rex from the first Jurassic World, now put into this one, that's creeping inside of a girl's room, opening the door and even kind of extending his hand out. And I was like, okay, that's cool, because I'm pretty sure that we've all had that nightmare when we were little kids and we were kind of eared out by having a dinosaur creeping into our room. Cool. However, if you watch the movie without going into spoilers, let's just say that the way that girl got into that predicament is the studio talking, saying, yeah, that was some dumbass shit. And sure enough, more and more moments like that made me go lift my arms up like this, go like, what was that? And I have a witness, my girlfriend. Once more, she bared witness to me kind of looking at the screen like, why did she do that? Or why are you? And she's trying to reason it, but I'm like, no, there's a few too many moments that I was still thinking about moving on to the next scene where I'm like, that was kind of dumb. That was kind of not called for. I could have told you that. And if you have a movie moving from scene to scene, I'm still thinking about that prior scene that made me feel that way, it's not doing a good job. But I can find the diamonds in the rough. And again, some of those diamonds were the effective creepy scenes that you can tell J.A. Bayona is trying to bring back his horror instincts that can work in other movies. And it looked like it could have worked for Jurassic World if it wasn't for the studio constantly telling him that this is a big budget movie, you gotta bring in the effects for the kids. And ever so on, I think there was only a handful of shots where he was using some practical effects, but for the most part it's just blatant CG that it's not the worst CG, but at the same time, it's not exactly the best. And the only other facet that I did appreciate was the exploration of the relationship between Owen Grady and these dinosaurs that he's trained, particularly Blue. I like that they were able to kind of flesh that out even more. And I guess to kind of expand it amongst these other dinosaurs, there is an interesting concept there where that was started off with these dinosaurs being alive and whether or not they should be kept alive, especially kind of peaked with this one shot that I did think was a cheap move. It was a cheap move, but god damn it, was I trying my best to hold it together. My girlfriend did not hold it together. She legitimately shed a tear, and I was like, come on, you have no right doing this. You did some dumbass shit leading up to this point, but then you do this one shot that I was like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I gotta give them props for what they did with the ending. In fact, the ending is quite a handful enough that I'm tempted to make a spoiler video centered solely on it. But it's a cool and interesting direction that I'm like, okay, I guess if you gotta go somewhere, especially after this one that was reminding me an awful lot of the Lost World Jurassic Park, then I guess you gotta go in the direction that the Lost World didn't. Which is, well, I can't really say much more than that, but let's just say that they're going into an interesting direction with the third movie. One that I was thinking to myself, wow, wouldn't it be crazy if they did that? And sure enough, they're doing it. I gotta be honest, it's actually a rather ballsy direction, and I'm looking forward to it. The way we got there was a little stupid. I mean, the decision behind a certain character's move to put this into action kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit, especially with subplot centering around this character. That I was just kind of like, okay, this does not need to belong here. And again, that kind of gets enveloped or umbrellaed into that whole set of dumb decisions, whether it be characters doing certain things in this movie or the writers going with a certain something with a character that I just thought this doesn't need to be in here. But the ending, you know, it makes me go, oh, okay, you know what? I want to see the third one. I want to see exactly what you do with this concept of setting up the third movie. Now, it's funny. Here I am 14 minutes into the review, and I'm just now noticing that I haven't exactly talked about, gee, I don't know, the humans? Which I guess should kind of complement the movie because dinosaurs are cool, except you got to utilize the dinosaurs carefully. And in this movie, they're used like effects. They're used just as much as the volcanoes used, which is for the grand spectacle. You literally have dinosaurs, like the T-Rex here, literally walk into frame, do their thing, roar, and then just be like, okay, I'll be in my trailer. And literally walk off. I was just like, that was hilarious. I don't know why. It literally looked like the dinosaur was thinking that. So, okay, maybe our brave heroes who decided to make the decision to go back to the island will kind of give this movie an uplift. No, not so much. I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard, she becomes a little bit much more rounded, but besides that, there's nothing really too much to her. Chris Pratt, charming, has the scenes where he made me laugh, but nothing much more than that, except for what I mentioned before, that I appreciated the evolution, no pun intended, of his relationship with Blue and exactly why it is that he's going back to the island for her. I'm like, alright, cool. There's a little bit of exploration there. But besides that, every other character is a complete archetype. You got some mercenary dude who does bounties, and you kind of see where he's going. You got the younger characters, the millennials, and you see one of them is being an advocate for all the different reasons. And then the other is, well, if he was on screen time a little longer, I swear to God, he would have been Jar Jar Binks, because he was literally on screen just to yell. And yes, he's the kid from the trailer with the glasses. He's too good for this. From what I hear, he's really good on The Get Down, which was a canceled show on Netflix that he was apparently very good in. And here he is literally just screaming. And he literally does not do any more than that. He's set up to be the comic relief, but I gotta be honest, he was cringy in some scenes. And it's not his fault. You can tell it's not his fault. It's almost like the filmmaker's just like, you know, he's anxious. Ain't that funny? It's just like, no, I'll be anxious too, motherfuckers. And again, the bad guys are just like the bad guys that you would expect, right down to the millimeter. There's one character, though, that I did like, that they made him call out another character for their bullshit. And I'm kind of like, alright, cool. You're not shunning that. But that still doesn't excuse from these archetypal characters that just don't belong in this type of movie, especially when you got dinosaurs. And if you play into their subtleties, that can work. So I can't really reiterate more than that, except to say that I'm glad that I did not walk out of this movie as mad as I was when I walked out of Fantastic Four. But that's not to say that I'm willing to give Jurassic World a second viewing anytime soon. My girlfriend might have dug it, but even she has to admit that there were parts that were reminding her of Jurassic Park. It reminded me more of the Lost World Jurassic Park, except with a little bit less gymnastics, which is a good thing, but significantly less Jeff Goldblum. If you're looking forward to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for him, you're in for a disappointment. And I think most of us predicted that from the beginning, so I guess that's probably the only reason why I'm not more pissed off. And for that, I'm going to be giving Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom a very high 6 out of 10. So, please let me know in the comments below if you have seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Let me know what you think. Make sure to like and share this video, and do not forget to subscribe for more reviews and videos coming soon. I promise you guys, I am on deck to hopefully rewatch Amazing Spider-Man 2 very soon, so I can give you guys a review probably next week. And then after that, it's Ant-Man, so there is that. And at the same time, I kind of don't want to blow my loads of videos a little too early because there's no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. until possibly next year, so I kind of have to pace myself. But if you guys want to check that out, please subscribe, and of course, hit the little bell so you guys can get notifications for when my videos go up. Until next time, guys, see you all later. She gets fully fleshed out here as the more she gets involved with Peter, to the point where it's almost like you start to unwillingly get frustrated with Peter for being such a horny bastard.
I think Liz Allen really is into me. Gwen, too. Gwen, Liz, Gwen.
God damn, I'm surprised Peter didn't go after Flash's mom.
Mom?
Really surprised. My spidey hormones are tingling.